What if sanctuary wasn't just a place, but a way of living? Welcome to the Sanctuary Network, your weekly home for conversations that awaken the heart, heal the body, and inspire the spirit. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Popyk, the creator of Spirit Fest and the Natural Wellness Expos. For 2 decades, I've been creating spaces, now creating a bold new broadcast for mind, body, and spirit, where seekers, healers, and teachers come together to share wisdom, laughter, and transformation. We've seen what happens when communities gather. People become enlivened. Now, through the Sanctuary Network, that same spirit is reaching you, wherever you are in the world. Each week, we'll sit down with thought leaders, authors, and everyday visionaries. We'll also shine a light on the grassroots voices of the sanctuary marketplace, the healers, vendors, and practitioners who make this movement thrive. This isn't just another show, it's your sanctuary, a space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. So, take a deep breath, open your heart, and join me. Together, let's step into the sanctuary. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our premiere show, the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit, the Sanctuary Network. We are now officially, and we are here with 3 Spirit Fest rock stars tonight. Carolyn Green, registered nurse, Christopher Timms, our sound expert, and Scott Donat, who is the foot guy, as everybody knows him. So we are going to start off every show. Hopefully you'll be joining us every week going forward. We want to talk about current affairs and what's going on, and then we're going to get into some topics with our panel, and we can have some open discussion. And tonight's topic is a soul reset, recalibration through sound and science. We're going to finish off the evening with conscious business tips. So even if you're not a business person right now, or you're thinking about it, or maybe you're even a practitioner or working on some merchandise sales as a hobby, and this is something that brings you joy and you're following your passion, a sole proprietor, as I like to say, join us for some tips at the end of the show as well. So getting to current affairs, I was thinking about what is really kind of going on right now. What are people talking about in the New Thought consciousness community? And the first thing that came to my mind is the 3-eye atlas. Is everybody familiar with that? Christopher, I know you are.
Yes.
That is it's the third thing, actually, an interstellar comet that's passing through our solar system, but only the third that has actually come from outside of our solar system. And it's very important because this is a new thing. Previous to this, nothing else was coming into our solar system. And the question is, why is this important? And I think that we're at an evolutionary point in time where we're starting to open our minds and our hearts to what else is out there, that we're not alone on this earth, in the solar system, and now beyond into other galaxies. But Christopher, you and I were talking about that earlier today.
Yes.
Tell me what your thoughts on it are.
Well, I think give everybody context as to what 3 Atlas really brings to us symbolically and literally. We're completing and have completed the big precessional cycle, the big approximate 26,000 year cycle. And what that means is that one rung of a spiral, time is a spiral, not a clock face that just runs like a flat circle. So as we complete this one rung of the spiral, the space between the first rung, the bottom where we are here, let's say, and the next rung is a place in Pythagorean geometry called the comma. This is what Pythagoras calls in music the comma, the place between the octaves, and it's a place between the rungs of the spiral. So biblically, this place between the rung that we've just finished, this 26,000 year cycle, and where we're going as we dawn into the age of Aquarius is called Jacob's Ladder. And Jacob's Ladder is also mentioned clearly in different other ancient texts from different traditions around the world. And what that represents is, on one side, if you look at the illustrations of Jacob's ladder, it's always as a spiral itself, like our own DNA. And on one side of the staircase, there are virtues. And as we develop and cultivate these virtues, we walk up Jacob's ladder, shedding old aspects of ourselves, leaving behind addictions, seductions, behaviors that are not in harmony with moving higher into the vibrational field. That's the metaphor and the literal aspect of what's going on. So on the other side of that staircase are perversions and weaknesses that tear us and bring us down. So that's been symbolically for ages the way that Jacob's ladder teaching has been brought out to the public. So we're on that ladder now as a species. And actually, more than a species, all the molecules of everything on our planet are going up Jacob's ladder as we're moving into this next octave of our own existence. So
Because the planet ascends, in addition to humanity, the planet is ascending as
yes,
well.
the planet is, that's right, absolutely. So as that's occurring, every molecule is being vibrated at a more refined, clearer tone, you could say. And in doing so, weaknesses within ourselves are being revealed nutritionally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, so that we can reharmonize ourselves with a higher octave of living to accommodate, to discover what it is to be human again in the age of Aquarius. So now, what that means for Three Eye Atlas symbolically is that, as we spoke earlier today, things in the external world, the external creation, all of the universe, are a reflection of the qualities that stir within each one of us. They're expressed as the limitless star systems and solar systems, interstellar nebula. Everything that's out there is a reflection of what's going on in here. They're
Right.
one and the same. Okay.
Right.
So with that being said, the metaphor is that Three Eye Atlas comes from another star system. That's like far, far, far away. And far, far away mystically represents the depths and the actual core, the center of your being. So this divine presence within the center of your being is expressed as the symbol of Three Eye Atlas coming through and entering our solar system. And the trajectory through the planets of our solar system was just an incalculable improbability of it happening the way that it happened. So
Right.
as it caressed basically all the planets in our solar system with its presence, it was shining the divine light of the age of Aquarius on all of the planetary influences. And we know that those represent the qualities of Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, Neptune, all of those
Right.
planets. And we can see them as personalities, just as the Greeks and the Romans, the Egyptians, everyone did. And those personalities are now divinely inspired and amped up, turned up all at the same time. And a number of the astrologers that I listen to, and I'm not an astrologer, I'm just a thinker, and I pay attention to things, they're all talking about how everything is amped up. And Three Eye Atlas was the juice to the amplification.
Right. So this was prophesied that this time was going to come.
Yes.
We were going
Yeah.
to evolve and we were going to ascend, and there would be the second coming, so to speak.
Yes.
But part of the reason that we knew that this was coming was because of that processional 28,000 years that the Earth is going to go through, where the Earth is in regard to, the planets are in the solar system and everything. So, so then it's no coincidence that this would come at that time. Sort of, for the lay person who's not familiar with a lot of these things too, opening up to the possibilities,
Absolutely.
that there is a lot more than what we see. Scott
Yeah.
and Carolyn, have you guys talked about this at all? Is this something you guys have been watching?
I've been watching, and I just know that it doesn't behave like a comet,
Right.
and that its pattern, correct me if I'm I'm wrong, guys, but the pattern has changed. It changed trajectory, didn't it? Like go behind the sun, and they're trying to figure it out. And I have a relative who worked for NASA and Johnson Space Center, engineer for years, and he was instrumental in Skylab. And when we had Skylab, and I really wish he was working now, and I need to have a really good conversation with him. So there's a lot that they don't know about it because it's not behaving that way. And it almost seems to have a mind of its own. And I don't know if they can tell if it's made up of all the same material as other comets, because, quote unquote, comets, because this is totally from another solar system. And then it really makes, as we're talking, because I picked these certain frequencies up on my patients over the last probably 12 years, but do you think that Three-Eye Atlas has anything to do with increasing the Schumann resonance of the Earth? Do you think that there's been any influence?
I think
It's just a thought. I mean, I just kind of thought about it.
I don't know, actually. I know it's happening, whether that's triggering it or it's in response to that. That's something to consider too. But it's clearly doing something. It's not, I don't think it's just driving by,
No.
I think that some other things are going on. Scott, what about you? Have you guys talked about this in your work at all?
So, no. I have noticed it via Christopher, you, my friends who are, in my teasing terms, my airy-fairy friends who are conscious of that stuff. They're conscious of where the planets are. They're conscious of those extraterrestrial moments in time. And I'm oblivious, Mary Ellen, to all of it. But I'll tell you what I have noticed is a higher level of preparedness of people coming to do emotional work, and people who are, and I don't want to go into like woke or awake or any of that, get into that too much, but people who've been on a path of their personal enlightenment for at least a period of time are feeling wonky.
Yes.
One of the men in my men's group last night said, I feel wiggly inside, and I felt this way for about 3 weeks. And that's been my experience. I've done 2 men's gatherings and 2 breakthrough workshops in the last 60 days. And not only have folks been showing up ready to do their work, but I actually did, when I do my emotional breakthrough workshop the way through, typically over the last 3 decades, it's been 75% women, 25% men. And that's been a number, and I'm sure that everybody else is going to be able to align with that. Women have consistently been more willing to and aware of waking up and doing their work. For the first time last weekend, I did an all-male emotional breakthrough workshop, and I've done over 100 workshops.
That's terrific.
At the first time ever that we've ever done all men. And prior to that was the first ever Veterans Men's Weekend up in Wisconsin.
Outstanding.
It was just another amazing process of first ofs, people ready to work, and people who have already done work almost feeling unstable.
Yes. People say they feel like they're going crazy. And they're not. It's just it's the energy. It seems like a chaotic time all over the world, not just in the United States, but it sounds like that they're saying the same thing to you, and we don't really know why. A lot of it is energetic.
Yeah, I have no idea why. I just notice what's happening, and that's what I've noticed.
And again, to get into the, as you would call it, the airy fairy, I do really feel like that we are going back and forth in between dimensions too. And a lot of when I had my store, the Sanctuary back in Memphis, I sold it in 2012 when I came back in here to Florida. But I would hear stories all the time that people would say they purchased something and then they brought it home and they laid it on the counter. And then they would go to get it and it was gone and they couldn't find it anywhere. And then 3, 4 days later, it would show up on the counter exactly where they left it. And I'm hearing a lot more stories like that. I don't know if you guys you may be experiencing it yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, but a lot of things like that too. And that would be an example. But the dimensions are really just sort of like tuning the TV. You know, we're of a certain age where we remember what it was like when you had to tune the TV into a certain thing. And I just think that more is accessible to us now, you know, 3D, 4D, 5D as well. So that's really exciting, though, about how many men are getting called into the work, though, because there's been a rise of the divine feminine. But I also think that the men, too, are now able to access that more or, you know, resonating it with more because it's hard work being that in tune with your emotions and you know, dealing with processing them. Sorry?
Especially when you're not trained for it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that's the stretch is getting them educated, aware, and it really is tapping into that divine feminine. It's you're tapping into your vulnerability, your authenticity, that deeper compassion, that place of not really having to understand to care. Those are all feminine characteristics of the divine feminine, and they are all absolute requirements for men to do deeper work.
Right.
So it's almost as though the access of the masculine is through that divine feminine that's been rising, and that would make sense that's waking up more guys.
I want to talk just really briefly about how each of you got started doing your work. Carolyn, I know that you're a registered nurse. When did you start doing energy work and then really kind of segueing mostly into energy work compared to the medical field?
Well, from the time I could go back to 2 years old and I could go back to by 11 or 12, I was seeing energy all over. And I used to say to my friend, do you see energy in the air by this, you know, piece of furniture? And, you know, and she'd go, no, you know, so I was very lucky to come from a family that did not poo-poo anything that I would say or feel. My grandmother used to go to the Russian tea room, gypsy tea leaf readers. So I was very lucky for that. So I wasn't shut down. And I think that was a big plus. When I decided to become a nurse, of course, I learned assessment and physical assessment and my nursing skills. And I used to, when I was training and even working in recovery room, I would do my physical assessment and everything would line up fine and the monitor would be fine, people coming out post-op. But once I did it, I would sense something isn't right. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I said, everything looks good, but something isn't right in the field, on the body. And sure enough, many times it could be a hiccup, a post-op hiccup, or they would desaturate their oxygen. You know, it could be something simple. Sometimes it was more. And I got to the point where I was doing like a little acupressure clandestinely and sensing things. And I got, you know, you get tired of it. So what I wound up doing is I found a modality that was accredited by the American Holistic Nurses Association of Healing Touch, which was brought to the AHNA by a registered nurse in '93 named Janet Mankin. And so she went all over the world, basically going in different cultures, and she packaged energy medicine or specific healing touch and brought it to the AHNA. And so it was accredited. And that really resonated with me. And what I loved about it at the time is it really taught us energetically we call by the nursing process. So we were all nurses. It was like the Hogwarts School of Nursing. It was wonderful training. And to see all of these nurses, you know, working on the human energy field and gave it such an anatomy and specifics that we were able to chart it into a hospital chart. And I think it was in 2018, 2019, they actually came up with the nursing diagnosis of an imbalanced energy field.
Really?
If you were in the hot, yeah, that was huge. And so I've been married to a chiropractor for 46 years. I've always been into natural medicine, integrative medicine, but it resonated so much. And in 1989, I literally became clairaudient. I was clairaudient when I realized back to the time I was 10, 11 years old. But really integrated. I did a lot of training and really put all of my abilities together. And I really hate that expression paranormal. I think we're metanormal, for a better term. So I just went from there. And, it's been great. And it really validates people's abilities that we're all wired for sound. I mean, we function on frequency, light, and sound.
Yes.
And every cell has a light around it. And then every cell becomes an organ and integrates into the central nervous system. And so I try to take some of the woo out of it and relate it directly, that this is normal for the human body. And it gives people validation because, as Scott, was saying, people, they're ungrounded. They're so empathic and they don't understand what's going on. And it's really all about frequency, and grounding is really imperative, because a lot of intuitives think that they're not grounded, they're going to get more information. And I said, you're going to get a lot of white noise and things you really don't need to be hearing or sensing. The more you ground and really ground that energy field, your antenna goes way up and you're much more present. And I think that's the difference. If we stay grounded, we're more present and we're more into the now and not hearing white noise. And I try to show people how to literally calibrate their frequency and to have good biofield hygiene, and release a lot of energy that is no longer necessary. And, great things happen, amazing things happen.
That's why people are really gravitating to the work that you guys are doing when they find you at Spirit Fest. Mm-hmm. And I think when they come to Spirit Fest, they think they're going to find merchandise and clothing and psychic readers, but you guys have become rock stars, that they are just so drawn to what you're teaching and what you're offering with that, and explaining to people what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and being able to give them the resources in how to help them navigate through these times and really literally become better, improved humans. Christopher, you are a true pioneer and you're a veteran. I think more so than any of us. Carolyn, how long have you been a nurse?
Since 1983.
83, okay.
I think since 83, 81 or 83, yeah.
Okay. When did you start, Christopher? When did you kind of get into the New Thought community?
Well, I kind of got into the New Thought, metaphysical, New Age community obliquely. I started playing, as you know, violin when I was 6 years old, drums when I was 10 years old, started studying yoga when I was 13. I saw some man doing yoga on PBS, and I said, Mom, I want to do that. So we found a place in Wilmington, Delaware, where I grew up, and started studying yoga, martial arts when I was 14. And I always had this interest in esoteric ideas, and both my martial arts teachers when I was young and my yoga teacher, they were very classical. So we were doing, all the Taoist things in martial arts we were doing, and Chinese things. I was doing all of the yoga things, the chanting and the Gita studies and all of this, and just as a kid. And I was just fascinated by it. My parents weren't particularly attached to any religion, so they were free. And I remember my mom saying, "Oh, that was wonderful as long as you don't take it all too seriously," And it was really good advice in the big picture. And I progressed from there, very interested in esoteric things. My music the reason I mentioned that is that it gave me a cocoon. And as I get into school, got into sports, got into science, got into math, got into all this stuff, this cocoon of being open, because music keeps your right brain really open and your senses wide open. So I was sensing and feeling things much like Carolyn was, and didn't really know what I was experiencing, just knew that I was experiencing something. And just to try to distill all this down, my esoteric studies combined with psychedelics, plant medicines, playing music in rock clubs up and down the East Coast, playing in different quartets and small orchestras when I was young. All of this stuff propelled me into this amazing space. And then I grew up in the trades, building trades. So when I fell off scaffolding a couple sections high and they said I was going to need immediate back surgery, my friend told me, well, before you do that, go to my friend. He's a chiropractor. And I said, what's a chiropractor? And so when I went, he had me back on my feet in 2 weeks and no surgery, nothing else. Then I said, okay, I'm going to become a chiropractor. So I did my prerequisites. I did an RN program in Delaware, and then I went on to Palmer. And then after studies in Palmer, I had really good technique, good feel. I really loved the art, loved the whole sensation. And then I realized I wanted to pursue vibration, music, alignment, harmony. Somehow I didn't really have it, but I found that it's not really as important to know what you want to do as it is to know what you don't want to do. And I didn't want to become a chiropractor. So I emptied that off my plate. And then within 2 years of that, and that just happened at another big alignment, that happened when I got out of chiropractic school. It was the harmonic convergence, 1987. And boom, within 2 years, I was teaching and lecturing about all of this esoteric and sound stuff, and had put together the sound system that you've experienced many times in 18 different cities from coast to coast.
And this is why I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to be together tonight, because people know you from Spirit Fest. They know you, the Foot Guy. They know you with your magic carpet tables, and Carolyn, your beautiful energy jewelry that you've got. To know the experience and the background that you guys have is so deep and just so, again, we don't have time, literally we could spend 2 hours, but we've got to go to break soon. So I want to give everybody an opportunity. And Scott, when we come back, we're going to start with you. But Carolyn, everybody, if you could just give your websites or where people can find you. Carolyn?
TheEnergyNurse.com. I will be building a new website coming 26, but absolutely come visit me. I've got some of my jewelry on there, and I can explain that.
Social media, are you on Facebook, Instagram?
Yes, I am on Facebook.
The Energy Nurse. Okay. Christopher, where did we find you?
www.christophertims.com.
Okay. And social media?
Facebook, Instagram, X, Gab.
Everything. Okay. And then Scott, where do we find you?
I'm the Foot Guy. Only one. There's a second one up in Toronto where I was born and raised, but he's a podiatrist. There's only one Scott on it on Facebook and Instagram. Me. You can find me at thefootguy.rocks or thewaythroughexperience.com.
Thewaythroughexperience.com. Yes. And when we come back, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, about all the great work that you're doing there as well. So, all right, Sierra, you can take us to break now, and we'll be back. Welcome back to our first show on the Sanctuary Network. We are talking about soul reset, recalibrating through sound and science with rock stars here. Carolyn Green, registered nurse, sound expert, and spiritual teacher Christopher Timms, and the Foot Guy, an emotional breakthrough workshop facilitator, Scott Donat. We've had really good conversation the first part of our show, but I wanted to talk to Scott. How did you get started doing the spiritual and emotional and the footwork that you do? And how do they all tie together?
Okay, so I didn't have the same upbringing as my friends. Mostly, I got into the world that I'm in now as a result of early childhood traumas and dramas and abuse, eventual alcoholism, and the first 5 years of my recovery really set up for the place that I'm in now. Mm-hmm. So I got sober in '86. And in '91, the therapist that I'd been seeing for that 5 years recommended that I go and do an emotional breakthrough workshop. We were stuck. I was very angry, and I knew it, and she knew it, and we couldn't figure out what it was. I went to a workshop with the man who would have become my mentor in the workshop that I lead today. And we broke a whole bunch of stuff loose, and that was wonderful, released a whole bunch of anger. But the powerful piece that came for me was the hypnosis session that happened right after the workshop. Woke me up to some hidden trauma, some stuffed trauma that really kind of set me on the trajectory that I ended up going on. So I became a hypnotherapist. I became an ordained minister. Later in my recovery process, my first wife was an acupuncturist, and I became a reflexologist just as an adjunct therapy to what she was doing in the office. Mm-hmm. I got my feet done one day, and it was wonderful, and I said, that's what I'll do. Mm-hmm. And it really became something much, much bigger than I ever expected it to become. And when they all came together, all the pieces and parts and components, they ended up creating a motive reflex method, which is the foot guide technique. It draws into it all of the emotional and connectivity to what's going on in our body, the thought processes that we're stuck in, those old tapes, and the emotions that are stuck in our body. Mm-hmm. So what I found was that everybody I worked on their feet, they ended up crying, or doing primal screaming. And it really wasn't about how hard I was pushing on their feet, but it was about the emotion that was being unraveled between what was going on in their feet, the questions I was asking them, and the work that they were coming there to do.
Wow.
So we wrote a book about it in COVID. I started touring with this amazing event planner and kind of spread Foot Guy all around Florida. And now I'm just kind of hanging out doing another.
I was going to say, I only cry when it's over. There are people that they come in the door. Where is the Foot Guy? That's the first thing that they want to know. But as I said, at our Spirit Fest events, you guys truly are rock stars. We've kind of got a little healers area that we're in, everybody, and the energy, it's palpable of the work that you guys are doing. And it really is just such a high vibration when you're in that zone. But it reminds me, like, people, sometimes they don't really understand what energy work is. And I love when new people come that have never experienced any of the work that you guys or some of the other practitioners are doing. And it's not uncommon for them to say, well, where does Jesus fit into this? And I say, well, similar Reiki, we could call it different things, but the divine is working through you when you're doing your work. It's not you or your talent that is not your talent, because you have to have talent. And that leads me to another point that I'm going to get to in a second. It's not you that's necessarily, you are using divine healing that is open to and available to everybody. You are able to direct that. And that, I think, is part of why the frequency is so high. It just is bringing us that much closer to the divine. But something that I hear a lot and is very frustrating to me is that people think that spiritual things should be free because of the fact that it's spiritual and it's open to everybody. And that's what I try to explain to people, is that's why we have to charge for what we do, because of your experience, because of all of the research that you've done, of all the work that you've done, even your gas to get to where you're going and things like that. We can't just be, operating. And it's more of about an energy exchange. I don't really look at it in terms of the dollars and cents, because I feel like that everything that we need is going to be provided for us. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts on that. Does anybody have any thoughts along those lines?
Sure, I do. Carolyn, do you want to go first?
Sure, thanks. When I trained in Healing Touch, it was 2 years of training, and 1 year I had to be mentored by a registered nurse. And we went for certification. We had to do 100 sessions. We had to do 2 huge case studies, even with lab work. It was, again, it was like going back to nursing school, but my kind of nursing school. And they told us, you have to do 100 sessions and document them, but you can't charge anything because you're training. And I'm like, we're in transitioning of careers, we're adding to it. And they finally, and people actually complained, and the students, because you still have to pay bills, and we're bringing something new, from us, into the world. And they said, well, you can accept a quote unquote love donation, whatever that was. So we did that. But, in the beginning, I had somebody say, why are you charging? God gave you this gift. You're using it. God also gave me 2 hands and a brain. I mean, that's why, we all do what we do, or went to nursing school. I mean, but that usually shuts down. But they seem to embed, even in training, they kind of embedded that. And, hopefully it's changed throughout the eons here, because it's not good. And it doesn't give, as a practitioner, it's like, you have value.
Right.
We all have abilities that everybody has, but we've been chosen, we've engaged them from an early point. And I also want to make a point that and I've spoken to a lot of practitioners, and a lot of us have really evolved through trauma in our lives, and we had traumatic events that really started to skyrocket our abilities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, I could get into that another time, but how that started with me specifically. But I find that interesting. And I also find that gathering and coming to the events that you hold, and to these expos, it's so important for people to network and gather and ask questions and start to learn the language of how deep we feel as empaths. And I really drum that into my workshops, is to find the languaging, because you can say you're really upset or you're sad to someone and you went through this event, but when you're as empathic as we are, it goes down. I love this. My guides coined the phrase to the cellular level. Yeah. So I mean, they always integrate the physical and the energetic into the cellular level. So we need to find the vernacular to literally express it. And I think when we're around together and they hear the teachers, and go to the different classes and the speakers, it really helps for them to emote to the point where they're feeling it that deep, but not an average person may understand.
Right. And this is a great platform, and it's great being together tonight, and then we can reach so many people, but nothing takes the place of being together in person. Having that interaction one-on-one, I just think that there's nothing that will ever replace it. And I think we really learned that during the shutdown,
Yes.
How detrimental that was. Christopher, what were you going to say?
Well, I agree with what Carolyn's talking about, and I want to back up from that one step and talk about approach. approach to it. And yes, to get rewarded for your talents and abilities is just respectful. Um, and it doesn't mean that we don't give treatments away and help people that can't pay for things and do all of that. But there's an attitude around the whole money thing that I think is really important. And I know it's probably kept me from being really wealthy in my life, but I'm fulfilled, so I don't need that, right? So the attitude is that when you do something for the sake of money, then you contaminate it. And our whole culture around the world is based on a contaminated relationship to money, because when you're doing it for money, that's called prostitution. You're really selling yourself out. So I've never done a tuning at a Spirit Fest Expo or out of the thousands of tunings I've done all over the world where I've done it for the money. And that's why I don't take any money from anybody until after I'm done the tuning. And a lot of the times, as Jonathan, Tricia, and people that help me at the booth will tell you, I don't know who's paid. I don't know who hasn't paid. I don't need to know. I'm there doing my bhakti, doing my devotional service. And, the universe provides for me. Sometimes it's in big buckets of money. That's fantastic. I'm doing very well. Sometimes it's pretty sparse. I've been at Spirit Fest where I didn't have money and Scott and Becky buy me dinner. That's how tight things go. So it swings, but I live in a clear conscience and that I'm not doing any of this for the money. Like as my wife has said many times, God, if you had just finished chiropractic school, you'd be wallpapering your house with $100 bills. Come on. And all of this, because you're really good. Right. So
you were telling me it just at the last show, because I knew that you were, well versed in chiropractics, and I asked why you didn't pursue that. And you said that you realized that vibrational and acoustic sound was more valuable, that was more healing than anything else, any of the medical fields. And I have been saying, I think that sound healing is about 40 years ahead of its time. I think that in 30 or 40 years that they're going to be practicing it in Western medicine. Right. I know now that they're doing like reverberation, or what would you call it, like concussive therapy, where they're doing it's like real fast, that they're doing that to help you.
It's almost like drum therapy on your body.
Yes, yes.
It's a percussiveness with a high attack and a quick decay into your body of the waveform. And all of those are getting really a lot of attention right now, and it's really exciting.
Scott, I know that you use the tuning forks in your foot sessions as well as the essential oils. So talk to us about the frequencies that you're bringing in there.
So I'd like to bounce back to the money thing for just a quick second. When I first got into the healing arts as a full-time process, one of the things that I hearkened back to, and it was a lesson that I learned from a Native American man. He was Swiss Algonquin originally and learned his practice in Maya down in Guatemala. And the line is really simple, but kind of profound at the same time, right? So the line: never trust a skinny shaman. Right? And the adage isn't never trust a broke shaman. It's never trust a skinny shaman, because before there was money, when you went to your shaman, you brought him a chicken, or you brought him a dozen eggs, or you bought him a loaf of bread, or her a loaf of bread, because you were making an energy exchange with that healer that was meaningful and had substance. And that was the purpose and the intention behind that adage of never trust a skinny shaman. Because obviously, shaman's skinny, it hasn't got a whole bunch of folks that he's taking care of because the poor guy's skinny, right? You know, energy work for me, you know, Christopher is the master in this realm, and obviously Carolyn's, you know, done some focused, clear study. I can remember reading that Healing Hands book from, I believe it was a couple of Canadian nurses that originally started, or at least that's where I found it. And that's really learning about, you know, how does energy frequency work? I used
Hands
to,
of light?
That's
Is that
a lot.
hands of light that you're speaking of?
Healing Hands was the name of the book.
Oh,
and
okay.
name
Polarity.
of the practice, and it's from the 70s and 80s. I mean, it was way back. You know, I don't know about, you know, how to talk about, speak about, or teach on frequency, or that's going to be their realm. I know how those things react with humans. That's all I know, right? If it's sharp and shooting pain, I want to turn the energy down on that reflex, and I'm going to use the moon tuning fork to do that because I'm going to draw that energy down. If it's dull and achy, I want to put energy in and lift it up. That's all I know. You know, one pushes it up and one pushes it down. And if you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to hand you an ohm tuner and say, if it hurts, put this on it. Right? Now, oils are a little different, right? But I also believe that you only need 3 oils when it really comes down to it: lemon, lavender, peppermint. You don't need any more. Now, I teach about 7 and really about 10 different oils, how they're key to having in your household, and they'll take care of everything: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, all of it. Really, lemon, lavender, and peppermint's really all you need. It's going to take care of 90% of the stuff that you're going to use an essential oil for. What I use it for in my practice is so that I can go deeper. And that's it. That's it. That's my level of understanding. Now, I know when Carolyn and Christopher start talking, they're going to be able to tell me why that works and how that works. I just know what happens when I use the tool, and the results that I get and that I'm looking for when I'm using the tool. So,
and that says a lot, that you don't even, if you do not understand the science of, but you just know that it works.
But you know it works.
Yeah.
And it works every single time, and it never not works.
And enough so that you made your own essential oil blend, didn't you?
I made my own blend. I wrote a book about it. I literally wrote a book about topics that I have no idea how they work, why they work. I know when I put them all together, magic happened. That's all I know. Right? And I just followed that, whatever that is, that guidance, that I wonder what would happen if moment. and
there's a name for that, you know. It's called intuition.
Yes. Okay. That's the word. Right? But
So speaking,
let Carolyn and Christopher share, because they're going to be able to give us so much more about the how and the why and the mechanics and the groovy part of it that I don't have that knowledge.
well, I want to kind of follow with that, but do either of you, Carolyn and Christopher, use essential oils in your practice?
Once in a while, I've trained in them. I use them on myself. I love them.
What are your favorite ones?
Some people, I love frankincense.
Me too.
Certain lavenders, you know, it depends on, I love lavender, but it depends on the lavender. I love myrrh. I love mugwort, you know, that's, you know, great for meditation. But, you know, it's funny because people come and they talk about, well, this is all new age medicine. And I'm like, no, this is old sage medicine.
Yeah, and they're biblical. They're from their
yeah, I mean, these years ago, you know, they practiced like the shamans, you know, all over the world. They had herbs maybe, and this is old sage and intuitive medicine. The reality of it is is a physical integration that happens with the human body and the energy body. So people, if they start to understand that, it helps them because they feel like they're losing it. sometimes. And I'm like, well, no, there's a reason. There's like, take a breath. There's a reason.
Right.
But
I want to remind the listeners or the viewers that you can call in with your questions, and you can either be on the air or you can just talk to our producer. But I know that they would love to answer your questions. The number is 800-930-2819. So if anybody has any, we can queue those up. Christopher, what about you? Do you use essential oils in your practice?
Sometimes Yolanda and I will at home for sessions that we have here. At the expos, I don't, because my primary purpose is your 10-minute car wash. Start at the base of your Merkaba and work your way up the spirit body, get you on the sound table, clear everything up, strengthen the field, and then turn you loose. And I just let that be what it is. But when we have an hour and a half to work with a client, a couple of the oils that come from Egypt, I'm really drawn to. One is called Blue Lotus. It's a blue lotus extract, and that's really a Bach flower remedy.
love that.
And that's phenomenal. And then the oil is blue tansy, and that's from a particular plant. Those are particularly elevating for the ajna and the tisratil, up in the spiritual eye and the crown. And I just really enjoy that.
The blue
And then I use
tansy's
peppermint
great.
throughout. Pardon me, Carolyn?
The blue tansy's great.
Yes, and not many people know about that. That's great that you do. And I use peppermint throughout the weekend so I don't smell like coffee.
Blue tansy is in a Young Living blend called Valor. That is made to give you a self confidence, but they also call it chiropractor in a bottle. That they found that people were using it were having skeletal alignments from it.
I found that to be true just by holding it in my hand. I can feel it.
Rocky Mountain Oil and doTERRA have similar blends as well. So I highly recommend that. So we actually have a comment from one of the other Spirit Fest vendors. She said that she just wants you to know that the knowledge and great works that you do in the respected professions is well received and appreciated. So kudos to you guys.
You.
Yes.
That's
Lovely.
great.
Yeah. And so we're going to be going to break here again in a few minutes. We've actually got a few minutes. But again, I want to go through and have everybody tell us exactly where we can find you. But before we do, I haven't mentioned how to find Spirit Fest and the other events that we do. SpiritFestUSA.com is where you'll find all of the upcoming events. The first show is going to be January 10th and 11th in Port St. Lucie. That's going to be a big one. We're going to have a lot of special guests there. Historical explorer Jim Vieira is going to be there with his new book about six-fingered beings, which is actually really exciting. And the psychic explorer medium Mark Anthony is also going to be there, as well as some other guests too. So there's going to be a lot going on. Then we've got our natural wellness expos that resume in June, but we've got more of them this year than we did last year. And those are going to be leaning more towards natural alternative health, towards medical. Also very well received, naturalwellnessexpo.com. But many of you found us through our The Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit website called thesanctuarynetwork.com. And that is an umbrella for all of the different events and different things that we've got going on. So let's start with Scott this time. Where can we find you?
thewaythroughexperience.com or thefootguy.rocks.
And you're on social media?
On Facebook, on Instagram. I'm the only foot guy. I'm the only Scott on it.
Okay. All right. Christopher?
www.christophertims.com is the big website, and all the social media. You just go to Christopher Tims and you'll find me.
Okay. All right. And Carolyn, where do we find you?
At theenergynurse.com, shoptheenergynurse.com, Facebook, the page The Energy Nurse, and then as I apply for shows, I always list where I'm going to be.
Okay.
On Facebook.
Okay. And then not only are you available for services, for sessions, for consultations at our different Spirit Fest events, but you guys speak as well. And we have speakers that are included with admission, and you guys get, these are conference quality talks that go all day each day at our Spirit Fest events, and people can hear you too. The lineup is always on the website in advance, so people will know what day and time that you're speaking as well. So again, I just appreciate you guys being there because you're part of what makes it so great. So we're just about to go to break again, and we're going to come back and have a little bit more discussion. And then we're going to be talking about conscious business tips for those that are also in conscious businesses like yourselves, or even those that are thinking about it. So come on back, everybody, and we'll be back for more. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our premiere show on the Sanctuary Network. We are the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit, and we are here today with three very respected practitioners in the sound and science field: Carolyn Green, registered nurse; Christopher Tim, spiritual teacher and sound expert, as well as the foot guy and emotional breakthrough workshop facilitator, Scott Donat, the foot guy. Everybody, if you guys come to Spirit Fest, you will have met these people. And if you haven't been, you're going to want to come and meet these people. So we've had a lot of really interesting discussion tonight about a lot of different things that are going on energetically. People kind of feel there's a lot of chaos going on in the world, but people just say that they just kind of feel like that they're going crazy. They don't really understand why. They just feel such unease. And that's what we're saying, is that it's a really common thing, that it's kind of an energetic thing with the planet, that we're going through a cycle, where the earth is coming up, is ascending, as well as humans are too. And we're all going through this together. So, a term that just came to me is something that I've used for years: divine discontent. And that's that feeling where you're not really unhappy, but maybe you're not really happy with where you are right at the moment. And that's kind of a nudge from spirit that maybe it's time for you to start doing something else. But something that we touched on earlier was about intuition. And I know you guys know and understand this, but I'm wondering how many of your the people that you work on are saying that their intuition is just like on fire, that it's just so much stronger now, and it's almost scary to some people. But also, we can manifest things so much quicker than ever before. And I want to say within the last 6 months, maybe, not even that long. But I was wondering what your experience is with that, with the people that you're working with, or with you all personally.
Well, one thing is, I have a lot of people around me and my patients. It's time is moving so fast, whether you're having fun or not having fun. But time is not linear, and it seems like there's jumps in time, and you start to look back and on something yesterday, something with my daughter, and she's like, "No, Mom, that was 6 months ago." I go, really? Like, I thought this happened 3 months ago, but definitely time is accelerating. And I think it's hard to keep up with. And it seems like the days, like more has to be packed into a day at a faster speed. Mm-hmm. And people just can't catch their breath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, no, it makes perfect sense. Christopher, what about you?
Yeah, time isn't linear, right? And it's certainly not consistent in its expression right now. And I ask myself, wait a minute, when did my oldest girl turn 40? Hold it, wait a minute, where was I? What just happened here? And I have 10 grandchildren. Wait a minute, what happened to my life?
You have 10 grandchildren?
I have 10 grandchildren.
That's amazing.
That's astounding.
Wow.
We were with baby Olivia today, my youngest. She's about 2 months old right now.
Aww.
And the oldest is 18. So they span from all three girls. And but the intuition, I ask people often when they hover around the table at the expo, and then they go wander off, and then they come back and they just hover. And I ask them, may I help you? Okay? May I answer a question for you? I don't know why I'm here. I
Mm-hmm.
said, I do. Come here. And I say, put your hand on this table. What do you feel? That feels really interesting. What is it? And then I said, well, why don't you just lay down, you know, and let
Mm-hmm.
me give you a tune up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always more going on, just as Carolyn would endorse, I'm sure. It's just while I'm using the tuning fork, there's all this energy field exchange going on, and there's just a lot happening in the fields, because
Mm-hmm.
we're sharing space.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get up off the table, I encourage people not to just wander off back into the expo. Take a
Mm-hmm.
moment, be with us. What do you feel? And
Mm-hmm.
people are talking very commonly. I don't know what I feel. I don't know what I feel. Well, if you did know, as Werner Erhard would have said many years ago, if
Mm-hmm.
you did know, what would you say? And then, boy,
Mm-hmm.
that draws out their intuition. It draws out, well, and then they just, people just start talking.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot happening, and people are seeing things that they've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
More people are talking to me about lucid dream experiences, and then people will often talk to me about, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but then they'll go dot 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 dot,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know, and it's all part of clearing. It's all part of our software upgrades that we have to have as we're climbing up Jacob's ladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're doing this work collectively. Scott, tell us about some of your experiences.
So I don't really know if it's intuition or the energetics of it. To me, it feels more like people who are showing up in my chair, and when we finally get to it, they're overwhelmed by what I can only describe as their empathy, their empathetic feelers, they're empathetically feeling the feelings of other people, and they're not used to it, and they're finding it overwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
they even describe it as chaotic, and they can't function, and that it's a curse. And I really feel like empaths and people and folks who have that empathetic skill of feeling what other people are feeling, they're really some of the most powerful people in the room. They have the ability to know where they're needed and where they're not,
Mm-hmm.
and go to the places where they're going to be received, and their services are wanted, desired, and needed in that moment.
Right.
Instead of trying to peddle your services to folks who don't need it, want it, or aren't even connected to it.
Right.
And I think that when we're talking to our clients, we can help them with those feelings, and I think some of it is intuition, because it's back to that, why do I know this, or like Christopher said, I don't know why I keep coming back to this table, but I keep coming back to this table, and there's got to be something here that I'm supposed to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best way I can describe it, Mary Ellen.
If I may share a personal experience that I had, I we're familiar in the New Testament. There was a thing where Jesus had been resurrected, and they were all together in a room and they were praying, and it said that the Holy Spirit descended upon them, that it descended upon the room. And I had always wondered what that was. Because I believe that there's a scientific explanation for every miracle. Something made it happen. And when we were at the Dulles show, I was sharing a room with my assistant, and just before I woke up, I had this really clear download or conversation with my guides, and they explained to me what the Holy Spirit was. And that basically that it was a time where some of the highest energy through the resurrected Christ had come onto the earth. And it was the first time that they had ever experienced that. And then once you felt that, and once you understand that feeling, you can go back to it, and it's raising a new bar. And I think that that is part of what we are doing collectively, that when we're all doing that work together, that we are creating such high energy that people may be experiencing that for the first time, through the work that they might do with you individually, or, just sort of like the collective energy at the show. And I that is why I really feel like, that is literally the Holy Spirit. But what was interesting was several days, I think that this happened on a Thursday, and on Saturday we were having dinner with some of the other vendors. And I started to relate that story, and two of their faces just dropped. And apparently the night before, the gentleman had had the same thing happen to him. He had the same download. So that's why, I feel, and that's why I see the work that we're doing. Now, yes. So again, we're not, super special. In other words, everybody is doing this work together. But if we can just set that bar and collectively expose people to that new and higher energy, I just feel so blessed that we've got the platform to do that. I just think that that's really awesome. So again, call it whatever you want, whether it is intuition or whether it is the Holy Spirit, but we are working with those energies. And then we do a prayer, or, a group gathering before each show too. And we ask not only to be guided and led, but also, for the physical strength to be able to run this energy that we do, because this is higher energy and higher frequencies, and our bodies are accommodating, and kind of acquiescing to that higher energy too. So it's a bit of a process. So anybody that's listening might be experiencing the same thing. They might call it ascension symptoms. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to add something what Scott said, and he's talking about the empaths and what they're feeling, and, that this is a curse and it's hard for them to function. So people ask me all the time, Carolyn, is this a gift or a curse? And from my guides, we say it's a birthright. Mm-hmm. This is a birthright. You're needed on this planet at this time. Mm-hmm. And we talk about that responsibility, but it's important to have responsibility to self first, because mm-hmm. it's just like anything. You take care of yourself physically. My guides say PMS. Even the guys need PMS, physical, mental, and spiritual balance. But that goes up to universe, to Ching, and to the collective. And I said, the more that we do for ourselves as empathic beings, and it just goes up to the collective. It's like the progressive slot machine, and then finally, in Vegas, and then somebody hits that big jackpot. And then, the more we do just goes to Ching, upstairs to Ching, into the collective. Mm-hmm. And, it's challenging, but when they come, they start to understand. Start to understand why they're feeling, and they're validated. And I always say, whatever anybody can say, it's such a safe space. Any experience you had that you never felt comfortable expressing, mm-hmm. talk to me. Talk to me, because you're here and you're already validated. And people just take a sigh of relief. I have people come to my table and they come to meet me and they go, I don't know who you are. I saw you on the program and I had to come to see you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes. And so there is this collective energy that you birthed. Mm-hmm. I mean, you birthed this, Mary Ellen.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
We're just little minions.
Right.
Well, I always say they don't come to see me. They come to see you. I just open the doors. I drive the bus, so to speak. But what we're talking about tonight, our theme is the soul reset, recalibrating through sound and science. And that is literally everybody is going through this right now in the different ways and the different things that they're experiencing. And there is a lot of different ways that we can calibrate, that we've talked about tonight, with the essential oils, with the sound, with the emotional work, the breakthrough, releasing trauma from the body. I had no idea how powerful that was. I'd heard about it, and then I kind of accidentally stumbled upon it, and I thought, well, oh my goodness, wow, there's really something to this. But Christopher, with all the different sound work that you do and your cosmic car wash, I think
Right.
you call it, but your teachings are so profound too. It just really depends on how far people want to go. But Carolyn, you've made a really great line of wearable energy jewelry. Really quickly, can you talk about that for just a minute?
Sure. As a healer, I love stones. Everything has frequency, and it's nice to have a stone that's wearable. So I really show people how the way that I do my stones is I literally pick them blindly out of a box after grounding and standing in for the majority. So for healing and balance, I do my meditation, and I'll get a box of amethyst, and I'll hand scan them for that purpose. And the ones that are radiating in my hand are the ones I start to work with, even turning it in the direction where it emanates the most energy. And even if it wants to work with gold or silver frequency, because that's an energy enhancer. And interesting enough, about 1/3 of the time, it will go with either gold or silver, which is interesting when you're going to production and you're doing your counts. But with that said, I have these pieces and I show people how they can feel for them. And it's like taking a kid to Disney World, because my motto is this nurse prescribes frequency, not drugs. And they can literally find the stone and the frequency that they need now to support them, mind, body, and spirit. And so that's been a lot of fun. And I love bling. So
Right, right.
but it's
And
nice
this
to
is
have that piece on you, because they'll feel the shift immediately. I have them work through it and do some breath work and help attune them.
And you have some really interesting stones too, and not just citrine, amethyst, and some of the stones we're familiar with, but you've got those fairy stones that come
Yeah.
from up north, and you've got some really neat things with some great energy.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, and this is not New Age. This is
Old
ancient
sage.
Egypt. They did the same thing. They're working with the lapis lazuli. In the Bible, they talked about the breastplate of, was it Jacob? I think it was, and it had the different gemstones on there. And forgive me if I have that name wrong, but it was a plate of armor, and I believe that some of the stones lit up depending on who they were communicating with. It's in the Bible. I'm not making this up. So
We believe you.
yeah.
We believe you.
I wish I had it committed to memory, but on the fly. So we've got just about 10 minutes left. So if anybody else has any questions really quick, you can call in 800-930-2819. But I wanted to talk about conscious business tips, because everybody, this is a business. Sacred marketing is what I would like to call it. But if you are in the conscious business of your own, or even thinking about getting into the conscious business, if you are drawn to do something and you want to offer it to people, I promise that there are people out there that want what you're offering. That's just how it works. You would not be drawn or have the intuition to be able to offer that if there weren't people that were out there that were interested. But if the first thing that you do, and again, it's about manifesting, is coming up with your business name, and that's fun. The creativity that goes into that, finding a website, purchasing the website, and they're not expensive. With GoDaddy, a lot of times they're a penny for the first year. I think with you buy hosting or things like that. And then making yourself known on social media. It's even just creating the account. And that is getting the energy going. It is just kind of building the momentum. And then once you start to do that, things will just kind of start to fall into place. And it might be that things will take a turn and they might end up going in a completely different direction than you would even thought of. Carolyn, I know that you're kind of reformulating things for next year, bigger and better, right? And that's just how it goes. It's a constant process. It's an evolution. With what we would call the business, but our spiritual work. And Christopher, you've been in it so many years, and the different ebbs and flows that you have taken, and the things that you are so well versed in now, and you can kind of see how everything has gotten you to the point that you're at now, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. And since COVID, I've just been kind of treading water and adapting and improvising to an ever-changing world environment, right? And really enjoying the expos. Yeah, I just wanted to just voice that because when I started teaching in 1988, there was no real internet presence to do a lot of this, any of it, you know. And so I was going to from city to city, New Age centers, unity churches, Unitarian churches, spiritualist churches, people's homes, and that was just the way it was. And it was beautiful. It was intimate. It was connected. It was personal. And then as the internet began to interface into everything, um, it shifted, and it was the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody, oh, we can do it online. Why go out? We can do it online, go out. And now I think we're shifting a lot of that back into you got to go be with people.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So another kind of this is secret insider information for those of you that are listening. When we vet, we do checks on everybody that signs up for our shows, because we do pride ourselves on having really good quality vendors, whether it's merchandise vendors or readers or healers, or people have a lot of different offerings, but specifically with the readers and the healers, and then sometimes with the other things, if you do not have a social media and or website presence, we do not accept you. And the reason is because we can't verify your work. We don't know who you are. Right. And there might be a reason. It might be that you're just so not technologically advanced, you're just not interested in doing it. But if you want to be in business these days, you really have to have that. And, because we have had people sign up to be a reader, and then we've had 5 people show up to work in that booth, and not one of them was the person that signed up. So we've just learned the hard way that we do need to be able to verify who it is. But, same thing, if you're a reader or a healer and people can't find you on social media after or have a website afterwards, that might not be a good thing. That just kind of lends to accountability and credibility as well. So a lot of people say, well, I really just don't feel comfortable on social media. But it is, whether you consider it an unfortunate thing, but I think it is fortunate because there is so much potential out there for reaching people on social media of all ages. And I'm gonna leave that as kind of our closing message. I'm gonna ask each of you, if you had one message to give to either young people or people who are just starting on this kind of soul awakening path, what would that message be? And we'll start with Christopher.
Well, you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. There's nothing that anyone can give you that you do not already really have within yourself. The greatest teacher is nothing more than someone who will walk beside you in life, pointing out things that you may not have noticed along the way.
I love that.
You got it all. Thank you.
Carolyn?
You're enough. You're enough. And that you can do this work as you're evolving through your own life's journey. You don't have to have come through everything and then study or do the work. You do it as you're working through it, because that way you walk the walk and you can talk the talk. And my mom, God rest her soul, she had a saying. She goes, you just don't get over things, you get through them. And it was very wise of her to say that, because you do have to go through the steps. But a lot of people feel like, I'm not ready yet, or I haven't gone through this or that, to then go ahead and do this kind of work or life coaching or whatever. But go with your gut, but just know that that's part of your journey, because you will be clearing yourself and you'll be working through things. And then you pass that knowledge on to people who are going to gravitate towards you.
Right. I love that.
You are enough.
Scott?
It's an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
Always an inside job.
Yeah.
And when it's not an inside job, it's an inside job.
Right.
I love when you get to the point where when you're going through the different things and you can see it from an esoteric perspective. That is something. So people that are more spiritually advanced aren't necessarily smarter or better or any of those things. It just means that we've simply arrived where we've learned, we've studied, we've, done the work, and that's all. You'll get there too. And that's the beauty of that. So we're about to wrap up, everybody. And this hour and a half, talk about time flying.
True.
This was awesome. So everybody, I hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you would like to meet these awesome people in person, please join us at one of the Spirit Fests that's upcoming. We are going up and down the East Coast. We're all over. On spiritfestusa.com website, you'll see the schedule for this upcoming year, and more are being added. So do check back. Also check in on the sanctuarynetwork.com, where we're going to be featuring more great readers, healers, vendors, practitioners like yourself. And I do hope everybody will check your website and your social media sites out, because these people really are fantastic and they're doing great work. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being part of our first show. So anyway. Yep. See everybody next Wednesday. And our guest next week is psychic medium Mary Lawton. And she is going to be doing readings on the air, as well as sharing really cool photos and audio things that she's picked up and some of the work that she's done. So it's going to be great. So thanks, everybody. All right. Good night. Thank you for spending this time with me here on the Sanctuary Network. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Transformation Network, as we gather to share stories, wisdom, and practices that remind us of something essential. Sanctuary isn't just a place you go. It's a space you create in your heart, your home, and your daily life. I hope today's conversation sparks something in you, a sense of belonging, a new idea, or simply a reminder that you are not alone on this journey. If this touched you, please share it with someone who could use a little light. Together, we can grow this circle of sanctuary and inspire a ripple of healing around the world. And don't forget, the journey continues at spiritfestusa.com, thesanctuarynetwork.com, and naturalwellnessexpo.com. And of course, every week right here on Transformation Network. Until next time, may you be well, may you be inspired, and may you live fully in sanctuary.